Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, little people? Kevin Jackson. Here's the Kevin Jackson Show. You're saying, what is this man talking about, little people? I'm one of you. I'm one of the little people. You may hear my voice broadcasting over the airways and think, man, that dude is something. I am one of you. 9 years ago, I sat in my media room ready to throw my shoes at the TV, listening to the nonsense I was hearing on TV. And I remember thinking to myself, these are professionals. These people know what they're doing. And, they should know more than us. And they were spewing nonsense. And I didn't really pay that much attention. I can't tell you anybody in particular. Was it Brian Williams or Jake Tapper or whomever? It was some leftist journalist, and I use my finger quotes, trying to explain to me something that I knew inherently was absolutely wrong on its tail. And I was going, that's not true. And I knew Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama was going to be president, and I called it. I said it's going to be that light-skinned Negro. And sure enough, he made it. And I thought to myself, Lord, what are you doing to us? And you probably thought it too. And some of you said it's okay because we got to get over all this racial stuff in America and this will end it and then we'll go back, blah, blah, blah. And we knew his policies. He told us. Said he was a communist, essentially. Said he's going to take your money and go distribute it. That's what he told my buddy Joe the plumber. I'm going to take your money and give it to some waitress who isn't making as much as you. And Joe's like, well, why would you do that? I'm middle class. How do you think I make my money? You think I just go out in the garden and dig it up? You think it grows on trees? Obama didn't care. He showed us exactly who he was. He's a weak dude. Weak people want somebody else to do their job for them. Hey, listen, I don't want to work. Will you go get that guy's money and bring it to me, please? Okay, what's my cut? I'll give you half. Okay. And that's what government is. It's a bunch of weak-kneed sissies who have taken us for granted. They don't care about us. But why did I call you little? Why did I call you small? Why did I say, hey, little people? Because let me explain something. We little people get together and we amass and we're a big group. We become formidable. Mother Teresa said, be faithful in small things because in them your strength lies. When Donald Trump went out on his course, he was happy to do it as a leader. He is. But you know what strengthens him when he goes to sleep at night? Knowing you exist. And no matter who it is, I'm going to tell you, I'm one of the strongest willed people you will ever meet in your life. And I don't have to have you. I don't need you to follow me. But you know what? When I find out you're there, I feel better. I'm still going to chart my course, but I feel better knowing you're there. That's why I tell you guys, go to kjradio.com. Send us a note, 844-551-8255. Call. Let us know what you think. Because whether you know it or not, you're strengthening people. I had a friend of mine. She was more of an acquaintance. I was thinking about hiring her to do some social media stuff. And we couldn't work it out, but we stayed in contact just because she'd pop up on Facebook or whatever, and I'd see her. Hey, how you doing? I'm okay. So one day in particular, I saw her name pop up. You know how this thing works. It just somebody will come up, and something on my heart said, hey, man, you ought to just see how she's doing. And I said, hey, how you doing? And she says, not so good. And we end up in this little bit of a dialogue. And I told her, I said, hey, look, I feel for whatever you're going through. I'm not going to dismiss it. I'm not going to push it aside. I'm not going to do that man thing and go, well, listen, here's how you fix it. Because that's not what my purpose is. But here's what I will tell you. I do feel for you because I believe your feeling of whatever you're going through is legitimate. But I promise you this, God will get you through it. You'll be okay. And if there's anything I can do to help, you let me know. And so she went on to explain the problem, and I don't remember honestly what it was, but whatever it was, I said, okay, here's what I can do to help and what you might be able to do. And we worked it out. And it was probably, I'm going to guess, a year or so later. Timelines don't really matter in the story, but it's a true story. And, I was online doing work, and suddenly I get a message from her. Hey, how you doing? I said, busy. What's going on? Good to hear from you. How are things going on your end? And she says, oh, about the same. But she says, but here's what I want to tell you. You remember that day you contacted me, blah, blah, blah? I said, yeah, of course I remember. I think about it all the time. And she goes, you saved my life. She said to me, Kevin, I was so down, I can't describe to you. And she says, it's like you just popped in like an angel, would not solve my problems, but you made me think about them differently. And she says, I just felt the need to tell you that. And I thought to myself, wow, how would I ever know? I'd never met her. I had no other way of contacting her except that. Maybe I had her phone number or something from when we were talking about her doing some work for us. But, how many people do you know? How many people have you impacted? Has your strength impacted that you don't even know? Maybe they tell you, maybe they don't. Look, we're important. We're little, but we're important. And when we amass, we can do amazing things. The left, think about what they say all the time. The GOP, the conservatives are splintered. They're splintered. They don't know what to do. They are constantly in lockstep. The one thing that they lockstep for is against us. They are the most splintered people on the planet, which is why they call us that. But they're supposedly in lockstep in their hatred of us. The only thing we are in lockstep in, as conservatives, are core values. We believe in our individual freedoms. We believe in a free market. We believe in accountability. There's no malice to it. We have no evil. There's no evil intent. I'm not mad at the left. I just look at those core values. That's what we focus on. They're mad at you. They see you as destructive, as evil, as racist, as homophobic, as xenophobic, all these different things. And that's the only thing that drives them is hatred and evil. That's it. And they're supposed to be all together, right? They're supposed to win every time on every issue. And you know what's happening, folks? They're getting their butts kicked, but good. Every single issue that comes up these days, boom, they're getting crushed. And they don't know how to handle it. And I'll tell you why. They have no strength. No strength of character. No strength of even the argument. Short break.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. kjradio.com, 844-551-8255. For you guys writing to me, calling the show, I truly appreciate your notes. I'm behind right now. I owe you guys some responses, and I will get to those. But got to tell you, love getting them. It bolsters our spirit. We have the will of 1,000 men, I'm telling you, in this organization. And we don't have 1,000 people, by the way. But we have the will of 1,000 people. And we will not give up. We will not let up. That's just the way it is. And does the road get weary? It absolutely does. But we find the strength. People, it's funny when I'll be sensed up to people at 2 o'clock in the morning, like, man, do you sleep? I'm like, very little. And trust me when I tell you, I want to. I want to go out and have vacations and spend time with, family and friends and stuff like that. But you know what? Somebody's got to guard that line. We're talking about strength today, folks, on the Kevin Jackson Show. The real man smiles in trouble, gathers strength from distress, and grows brave by deflection. That was what Thomas Paine said, the man who wrote Common Sense. And I'm going to ask you a question. Do you find Barack Obama to be a real man? Do you feel like he went through a whole lot of stress in his life and that's what built his backbone and his character? If you're like me, you're probably going, what are you supposed? Kevin, get off them drugs. You would never think that about Barack Obama. He didn't go through any wars. He used the light-skinned Negro with the no Negro dialect to get everything he wanted, and somebody made it easy for him all along the way. Barack Obama hasn't struggled. And the sad part about life for most of the millennials in America, they haven't struggled either. That's why they related to that clown. They love the idea. He came out there and talked like this and said, hey, we're going to try to do something about college, those student loans. And they're like, yeah, he's dreaming. Why should we have to pay back our loans? I don't know, maybe because every generation before you paid back their loans? Maybe because it's a loan. It's not your money. It's somebody else's money. Maybe it's because the public is betting on you to go out there and be somebody and make take your career and make it into something and put back into society, you little social justice warrior plebe puke. Maybe that's it. But what they do is they go, I'm going to get a stupid, useless degree that doesn't pay any money, and then I'm saddled with all this debt. What do I do? Why should I have to pay back my loans? Meanwhile, the guy getting his engineering degree, me, double E or computer science or math or whatever, you're out there, working and you got gainfully employed designing missiles and, I designed check sorting equipment, stuff like that. And, and readers and programmable logic and all kinds of stuff. And these clowns are out there going, we want more black people at your company. That's your contribution? You want more women and Guatemalan midgets at my company? I don't need you. Go get a real degree. Why are we funding that nonsense? But that's not even what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the strength of Donald Trump. Let me ask you this. Do you believe Obama would have melted under the pressure of what Donald Trump is going through? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See, y'all looking at me going, now that was deep. That was a deep question, wasn't it? Thank you. I appreciate that. Here's what I said when I was thinking about that. Thank God for leftists that Barack Obama was coddled in every way. Barack Obama failed almost every test he took. Almost every one. And you know what the left did? It's okay. He's our little Negro. It's okay. They didn't care. They didn't care that Barack Obama was not ready for prime time. They didn't care that his ideas, his policy positions were idiotic. A baboon was better at policy than Barack Obama. You'd have a better time picking your Final Four with a monkey going, I don't know, Virginia, Alabama, Mississippi, whatever, than letting a Barack Obama look at something. He's an idiot. Can you imagine how that little pansy would have melted under a fraction of the pressure of Donald Trump? Think about that. And see, that while you're thinking about that, let me tell you what the left is doing. They are so mad. They are so mad because they know that to be true. The left applied as much pressure as they possibly could on President Donald Trump. And you know what he does? He lays down in a suit and he wakes up like it's been dry cleaned and pressed. They cannot wrinkle this man. He is undaunted. He is steadfast and true because he knows who he is. He is unafraid, unabashed, whatever you want to call. And you want to know why? Strength comes from his indomitable will. Donald Trump says, I can do this job. We have never, I'm telling you, in the history of this country, we have never had a man who got into the office and said, I can do that. I can do that with my eyes closed. Because every one of them, I'm talking, even the guys in the past, I'm talking George Washington, all that, it was all fresh and new to them. Trump watched many presidents in the modern era, all learning from the ones before them. And by the time it got to him, he said, this is nothing. You and I know the same thing. If you know something so cold and you've watched people do it and you're like, man, these clowns are doing that. And when it comes your turn, you're like, all right, I'll show you. Bam, 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 bam. It's like watching Einstein look at a motor. He's like, man, y'all are tweaking that. Move back. Bip, 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 bip. Boom. And they're like, wow, it runs a lot better under him. Your dadgum Skippy, it does, because he's a genius. I'm going to talk more about that in a bit. So Obama, he can't handle the pressure. As my brother used to say when we were playing dominoes, pressure bust a pipe. Yeah, the left want to present Barack Obama as Mr. Cool, Mr. Calm, Mr. Relax, but he was nothing like it, nothing close. He was the most scared president on the planet, and the only thing that made him feel confident was the adoring, undying adulation of fans that said we cannot let our bet on him go bad. If we let it go sour, we lose our money. He second-guessed himself his entire presidency. He flip-flopped on major issues so badly, even the leftists called him on it. But then they'd see him crying in there. And they'd go, hey, Barry, don't cry. Don't cry. Somebody bring in the affirmative action rag and wipe his head for him. Or some butt balm. Let him heal his wounds. Imagine for a second if the Justice Department was against Barack Obama the way they've been against Donald Trump. You think Barack Obama would have had a scandal-free presidency if they played it by the book? If he didn't have Comey and McCabe and all those people covering for him? Do you honestly believe that we wouldn't be talking about Fast and Furious, Benghazi, the IRS scandal, and a host of others? You doggone Skippy, we would. But they all covered for him because they had to. They don't have to cover for Trump. That's the beauty of conservatism.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. kjradio.com. Oh, my goodness. So we talked the other day about Oprah Winfrey and her speech that she gave during the Golden Globes. And afterwards, people started offering up this notion that she should be president of the United States. And it came up before. I'm trying to remember what I saw on it, because they were looking at either Michelle Obama or Oprah Winfrey. You guys remember? Yeah. I mean, I kind of barely remember, but I know Oprah was kind of put up there as like, well, she could run. Oprah would be good. But for the most part, it was ridiculed. The left ridiculed us about Barack Obama, Donald Trump being president. And they said, why should a billionaire TV guy be president? I think we talked about it in the last show where I said, we did a meme that said, well, the Democrats, when Trump wanted to be president, said he's just a billionaire TV guy. But now they're like, Oprah for president. And so I called her, we did a meme, I called her the queen of fake news. And I said, have you ever seen the cover of an Oprah magazine and seen what she looks like? Because that's not Oprah. And Oprah's presidency, just for the record, would be just like that. I'll get to that in a second. She gave the worst speech of her life in 2018, at the Golden Globes. And I don't know how many others she's given, but Holly weirdos pretended to love this speech because that's their job. They have to pretend. They have to act like they care about issues. That speech was divisive. Oprah pointed the finger of blame at everything except what it truly should be pointed at, which is leftism. And for all intents and purposes, she pulled a Meryl Streep because she acted the speech. And I talked about this. She thanked the 4 men for her getting ahead. Yeah, she thanked the white guy who got her the job at AM Chicago. And that job got her on AM Chicago. Then she got spotted on Quincy Jones for that. Then she thanked Quincy Jones because he recommended her for the amazing role that she got in The Color Purple when he talked to Spielberg and said, I've got your whatever character Oprah played at the time. And then she thanked her long-term boyfriend, a man she doesn't marry because he might get half. And the only mention of a woman was Gayle, who has absolutely nothing to do with Oprah's career. And Oprah, in fact, is the reason why Gayle has a career. And then, of course, she took a cheap shot at President Trump, saying she's fighting on behalf of the crooked fake news media. And holy mother of Rosa Parks, the irony, a black woman standing up for the media industrial complex owned by the richest white men in the world on the planet. So finally, Oprah attacked men, leftist men, by pretending she was going to fight for all women. Yet who are the enablers of the sexual predators and the bullies in Hollywood? Oprah and the feminists like her. They're the ones who enable the Weinsteins and everybody else that's there. They even enable the Kevin Spaceys of the world so they can commit pedophilia. They don't care. Bugger a child. Put a woman on the casting couch against her will. Just promise her she's going to get a role in something, and it's all good. But nowhere in that speech did Oprah Winfrey attack Harvey Weinstein or anybody like him. But even with that as the backdrop, the LA Times said Oprah Winfrey for president was something of a running theme throughout the Golden Globes on Sunday, beginning with Seth Meyers' opening monologue where he jokingly forbade Oprah from considering the presidency. And then Oprah gave her speech. Oh, yeah. People were like, whoa, she's awesome. Social media exploded. Started to rally for Oprah to get the job. She absolutely can do it. Gayle, Oprah's best buddy, she said, I thought that speech was amazing. Yeah, I got goosebumps. Eva Longoria and Keith Urban shared a table and they gushed, that speech. It was more of an exultation, Keith Urban said. Alan Horn, chairman of Walt Disney Studios, he was impressed. She knows how to deliver it too, he remarked. She's really emotional. And then, the coup de grace. NBC tweeted, Oprah for president, with a picture of her. She's there smiling. Ooh, nothing but respect for our future president. Hashtag Golden Globes. And the tweet then got deleted. But it was posted moments after Seth Meyers had done his comic routine about the 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner having pushed Donald Trump to run for president. And here's what he said. In 2011, I told some jokes about our current president at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Jokes about how he was unqualified to be president. Some said that night had convinced him to run. So Meyers said, so if it's true, I just want to say, Oprah, you will never be president. You don't have what it takes. Ha 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 ha. And everybody starts laughing, right? Yeah. See, the Democrats ridiculed Donald Trump for being president, said it couldn't happen. So now, hey, let's see if we can pull a genie out of the black bottle this time and get Oprah elected. Why? Because she's so qualified. She's so qualified. So in response to Twitter's faux pas, users responded and they ridiculed the network. Many of the responses pointed to the hypocrisy of Oprah Winfrey, and they posted the scene of Oprah kissing on Harvey Weinstein. Yeah. And then there was another picture of Oprah. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it. But it was of Oprah's overly protective nature of this little white chick. She's a blondie, and Weinstein's coming up to her, and Oprah's kind of holding her hand back. And at the time, I thought, wow, Oprah's really protecting that young girl from Weinstein. But as it turns out, Oprah might have been his pimp. Now, I'll get to that in a second, but here's what I want to tell you about Hollywood. Every single actress in that town pretends to now care about women, and all those women are either pimps or prostitutes. Sorry about the language, but they are. And they're that for Harvey Weinstein and his type. They pretend not to know the type of man that Weinstein and others are, but they know him quite well. To screw your way to the top is a rite of passage. It's initiation into the club. To get to the brass ring of Hollywood, you have to be willing to be somebody's. I'll just let you fill in the gap there. Everybody does it. So nobody wants it to stop. If you got to make the ultimate sacrifice, so be it. And part of that responsibility of the insiders, they aren't going to tell you this, is to find them new meat, new ingenues. Imagine this. You've been taken advantage of by Harvey Weinstein, but you made it. And so one of your friends goes, hey, listen, you're in the movies. I want to get in the movie business. And your friend's going, you don't want to be in the movie. I really do. Oh, my gosh. Would you please introduce me to Harvey? And your friend goes, I can't. The person doing it goes, I can't say anything bad about Harvey because if it gets back to him, then it's going to be bad news, for me. They can't say anything to the person who wants to get a meeting with Harvey because if they say, well, with Harvey, you're going to be on your knees or you're going to, on that casting couch. Oh, you just don't want me to get ahead. You just think it all for yourself. That's what you are between a rock and a hard place. You want to tell somebody, look, and then there's a third option, I should say, where you don't want to admit what you did. Because if you say, look, in order to get into Harvey's office, you gotta let Harvey do some stuff to you. Now, did he do it to you? Well, I ain't gonna say to everybody. So you got three things to deal with. You got the one that you don't want to get back to Harvey. The two that you don't want somebody going, oh, you just block it, man. You don't want me to get ahead like you. Oh, you that kind of dude, right? And then the third one is you're pimping yourself. You're like, oh. So you don't want to, what do? Anyway, there was an aspiring actress. She said that Harvey Weinstein used Oprah Winfrey and Naomi Campbell to dupe her into thinking he would help her career, only to use her for sex. And she's a British actress. Her name is Katie Noble. She was head over heels impressed, she said, when she first met Weinstein at an event in London. He was hanging out with the model Campbell and the megastar Oprah swinging off his arm. I thought, obviously, this man has something amazing in store for me. She did a teary-eyed interview in Manhattan to discuss a sex trafficking lawsuit that she'd filed earlier against Weinstein. She says Weinstein used promises of career advancement to lure her into a hotel room in Cannes, France, where he forced himself on her. She said, I felt completely played. She felt played, let me tell you, America, because she was played. And these sanctimonious sons of you-know-whats pretend to extend their help to the blue-collar women. How magnanimous. Told you guys, I had a friend who was sexually harassed by a VP at a company, and he'd made it clear, you could write your ticket if you sleep with me. And she reported him, and he was gone within a week. So let me tell you, Oprah Winfrey and these Hollywood ingenues aren't helping anybody except themselves. They want to exonerate themselves from what they've really done, which is ruin the women's movement.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show, kjradio.com. So we've been talking about the Golden Globes, Oprah Winfrey, Oprah for president, who's going to run for president, lots of different things. I'm having a lot of fun myself on this stuff. And but I want to talk about what happens when you escalate, or as James Clyburn would say, esculate to that level. You enter a whole new realm. And despite electing a fraud like Barack Obama, we now have a president that we know a lot about. We know about his divorces. We know about his bankruptcies. We know about all the different things, a lot of stuff. We know a lot about Donald Trump. He's written books about himself. And being such a public figure, he's had a lot of time for scrutiny. He's been political without being into politics. And we know a ton about him. We know a lot more about this man than we've ever potentially know about Barack Obama. We may not know about Barack Obama for three generations. But what that brings up is the dirt. You get a lot of dirt on people as they go through the ranks. And Oprah Winfrey, I'm going to tell you something. She's a fabricated story. Probably less well known than our former half-black president. History that's as much fiction as Huck Finn. And there was a 2010 story Fox News did that profiled a guy who was writing a book about Oprah Winfrey. And he says this: Oprah Winfrey, who built a billion-dollar empire persuading everyone from celebs to average Joes to reveal the truth about themselves, is a big phony when it comes to her own past. Winfrey's relationship with longtime love Stedman, her reputed dirt-poor upbringing in rural Mississippi, her rumored lesbian crushes on women such as Diane Sawyer, all her stories she's manipulated for decades in the name of sensational ratings. This is Kitty Kelly's book. Now, Kitty Kelly is a sensationalist. I'll tell you that right now. But still, sometimes she gets the facts right. She says Winfrey concocted stories about her sexual abuse that she suffered as a child and grossly exaggerated the poverty that she grew up in. She went on to say that Oprah went to great lengths to conceal her lesbian affairs, and quite frankly, I don't care. That I don't care about. But here's where it gets kind of interesting. They say Oprah, who claims that, she admits to being promiscuous and things like this and talking about rape. It turns out she was just pretty much selling herself on the street, essentially a prostitute, and people have described her as that. Family members. Oprah doesn't know the real identity of her biological father. Again, I don't care, but why take the story to another level? They say her relationship with her mother is so cold she won't let the older woman have her phone number, won't let her mom have her phone number. Now, again, I get it. It happens. People have relationships where they go, I'm not talking to you. I don't want you to get a hold of me. I personally don't understand how you do that to a parent. I had a parent who was in prison, and I still took his calls. And this got me thinking, because I get asked a lot, Kevin, so when did you stop being a Democrat? And I go, I was never a Democrat. What? And it's almost like they're disappointed that I don't have this, story of redemption. And I always think to myself, is it not bad enough that my mother died before my 5th birthday and my father spent the majority of his life in prison, so I didn't have him? But no, they want to know, surely you were at some point a Democrat, right? Or, made the trend. No, I wasn't. And as poor as we were as a family growing up, when I talk about it in my book, I still don't lament it. It isn't like we were so poor. We were so poor. Oh my goodness, I wore the same shoes and couldn't get in. I mean, we were poor. I know we were. But there were many things that made me rich. And I say that. Well, I felt rich in so many ways. Anyway, back to Oprah. So the thing about people like Oprah and others, they know the story. It plays, the rags to riches story plays very well. These conversion stories do very well. The Horatio Alger types. And, just for the record, anybody else that's done that? Maybe has a bit of a funny name? You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, I do. Winfrey was born in, I can't even say this, it was Kosciuszko, Mississippi in 1954. And this article says, the way she likes to tell it, she was so impoverished that she never had any new dresses or dolls and had to adopt 2 cockroaches as pets, naming them Melinda and Sandy. Now that tells me right there, she's making it up. She's joking. Yeah, we were so poor, the electric company came and blew out our candles. But and this is where I think the story gets kind of interesting. Her family goes, it's nonsense. They weren't well off, but they said she was relatively spoiled as a little girl. And here's what her a relative, Catherine Carr Esther, says, where Oprah got that nonsense about growing up in filth and roaches, I have no idea. Why do you tell such lies? That's what people want to hear. The truth is boring. Now, to Oprah's credit, I say this. She turned her life around. But why the lies? And here's a part of the story that doesn't play well with her disdain for men. As a teen, they say Oprah was a wild child, promiscuous to the point of prostitution. This is what her relatives say, okay? This isn't conjecture. They said the future star would steal from her mother's purse, pawn her jewelry, even turn tricks. She was eventually, here's where it gets really interesting, sent to live in Nashville with Vernon Winfrey, who was her mother's former lover and who is listed on her birth certificate as her father. He's been described as a domineering disciplinarian who set her straight. Now, here's why this story is of interest to me. Oprah has a man in her life who set her straight. He's the one who got her on the straight and narrow. Do you think that Oprah Winfrey, I'm not saying I don't know what she's done for this man and all that, but why would you go on TV during the Golden Globes and talk about men and women are oppressed and women this, that, and the other? And I've already given you a litany of other men who've helped Oprah get to where she is. A man got her on a straight and narrow. Now, there are other rumors floating around about her lesbian stuff and all that. I don't really care. But what I do care about is the idea that here again is another person who you don't know much about. She's built a $1 billion empire. And honestly, if the truth came out about Oprah Winfrey, she'd be penniless. She never would have gotten where she's gotten. It's a fabrication. And you wonder why she was able to play the role in The Color Purple so well. She's been playing a role her whole life. And there are people like Oprah, they love the attention. When I went to look for pictures when we posted a story about her, I was looking for pictures and I was thinking to myself, wow, this lady has hung out with the top, the most glamorous people in the world. If you took the net worth of the people that Oprah Winfrey has interviewed, we couldn't buy their coats. You know what I mean? These are people that, and I'll be honest with you, I don't care about stars. I think it's a ridiculous notion. When my friends have me over, I got some friends that live next to me, not too far from me, and they are overjoyed when I come over. And it's funny, they think I don't realize it, but they'll call other friends who are Fox people, who watch Fox, and they just all happen to kind of be at the house. And I think to myself, okay, first of all, I'm on to you, and it's kind of cute. It's flattering. Don't misunderstand me. I don't feel, like, oh, look at these. But I think to myself, Really, guys, I'm not that big of I'm not a big deal at all. When I say I'm not that big of a deal, I'm not a big deal. It's not that I'm not that big of a deal. I'm not a big deal, period. So why the hoopla? I've never understood it. Don't misunderstand me. I have people I really respect. Like I saw Herschel Walker the other day on the he was out with the Georgia Bulldogs during the championship game. And I saw Herschel. I was like, hey, I hadn't seen Herschel in a while. Warms my heart because I know him. Bo Jackson, one of my idols, man, probably one of the best athletes ever. You know, definitely get excited if I get a chance to see Bo. But I'm not like, ooh, Google, gaga, what's going on? You know, I just don't. I see big name stars. I hang out with people that I think, a lot of people go, wow, he's a, amazing person. And I just look at it as no big deal. They're guys that put their pants on like me. But if you are into that, Oprah Winfrey has seen everybody. She's been, I saw a picture of her with Brad and Angelina. Who hasn't wanted to meet Brad and Angelina, right? I'm just saying, they're the biggest, some of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Remember the Tom Cruise thing when he jumped up on these are people in their prime. She sees everybody. And I bet you that's what she wanted to do her whole life. She wanted to be the person that was around those people, and it made her bigger than life. And she is. She's bigger than life. But is she really? If you know her real story.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. Yeah. Glad you're here. kjradio.com. You can reach us at 844-551-8255. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can. No one may. We always must walk the path ourselves. You can be born, you can be gifted with all kinds of talent, and you can do nothing with it. I know people like this. I've described friends of mine. I have a friend who's got work in the Smithsonian. He sells enough artwork from time to time just to pay his bills, and then he stops. And he's got work in the Smithsonian. I'm not even kidding. And I think to myself, wow, Carl, why don't you do more? Why aren't you a hustler? For that, if you want to go out and, now this was years ago, but if you want to go out and chase women and stuff like that, Carl was right there with you, man. And you know what? He wouldn't have money, but he would hustle drinks in the bar. Wouldn't even come to me half the time. He would hustle drinks. It was like a part of it. But ask him to go do something with his art. One of the most gifted artists, I promise you, you've ever seen. And he wouldn't do a thing. Work in great galleries. Just stuff like it. And the only time I'd see him, he'd say, I'm doing something for a gallery, and blah, blah, blah. And people, when you go see him, people love this work. He'd sell enough in the gallery, get his money, and then he'd go off. You didn't know when you'd see him again. He'd disappear for 6 months, 8 months. Oh man, yeah, I'm in Ghana hanging out. I'm getting some. He would go to, he would bring back Kente fabric. Where's Kente fabric? I think it was Nigeria. But he like, yeah, man, I want to get into this Kente fabric thing and all this. And he was working with multimedia, but he wouldn't do anything. And who can you blame? Who can you blame? You can't. You can look around and say, oh, it was the girls he was hanging out with. No, it wasn't. It was all Carl. Anyway, you got to have the strength, the fortitude to do the things you want to accomplish in life. And the quicker you learn that, the better. The quicker you teach it to your children, the people around you, the better. You have strength inside of you. I was talking to one of my people that works on my team. She's been through a lot of medical issues. And has a debilitating disease that's been in remission now for a while. She's finally feeling good, but she's not confident yet about her work because she'd been out of the workforce for a while. And I told her, I said, look, here's the deal. I don't like weak people. And you're not weak. I go, you've come through a weak period. I get it. But you are not weak. You're a warrior. And to be on this team, you have to act that way. I don't worry about mistakes. You know, the old saying, ask for, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. That's the rule. You can't really do much wrong around here, because I told her, for us, we spent 8 years where everything is a nail and we're a hammer. If we were swatting flies, we did it with a hammer. You don't kill a whole lot of flies with a hammer. We've been inefficient. We've been all these different things. But you know what? We still were effective. We still had the warrior's creed. We got up every day with these stupid hammers trying to kill flies. These guys are laughing at me. We do it in radio right now. We're trying to kill flies with a hammer. Oh, man. And you know what's so sad? So I'm going to put our dirty laundry out here. We don't look for sponsors because we don't have time. And so everybody's like, they think we make money in radio. And I go, we could. We could if we got off our butts. And I feel like I'm about to tell my Carl story right now. But look, I'm too busy. I'm too busy to slow down to go find sponsors for the radio program. And if you know them, send them to us. Call us at 844-551-8255. If you just want to be a benefactor to the show, do it, because we need you. Because let me tell you, we do not have the time. We have not been able to look. So, but anyway, that's our dirty laundry for radio. Oh, you can contact us at kjradio.com. I have a buddy. He's in radio. His name is Joe. And Joe just sends out an email, says, hey, look, I got to pay for my radio program. I've been doing this a long time. If you listen and you like what I do, please support. And Joe does very well. But we haven't even, I don't want to sound lazy, because we haven't even done that. And here's the reason, I think the reason why. All Joe does is radio. We do radio. We got a movie coming out, bleedingbluemovie.com. So that's being redone. We've got charity work that we do all the time. We are always kind of hitting people up for just a little chump change here and there. And I think that we feel like at times we may be overdoing it. So, and I'll be honest, we hadn't done a fundraiser in 8 months. I just self-funded or, got people to work with me on different things. But yeah, we hadn't done anything in 8 months. Because we just feel like we don't want to overwork people. We don't want people feeling like we're just hitting you up for that. But the fact of the matter is, we don't make any money in radio. Yeah, we don't. You guys are horrible. What, are you starving? No. So who's funding you? Exactly. Pretty boy right here. So look, strength. Strength is what got us to where we are today. Strength is what's going to keep us here. It is our responsibility to not show any more weakness. We gave the left a chance. Don't admit it. I mean, how much of a chance would you want to give them? We did everything for these guys. We let them have Obama. We almost gave them Hillary. That would have been way too much. Thankfully, God intervened on that and said, no, you're not going to get Hillary. But we did everything we needed to do to say to them, hey, you had your shot. They had their shot. They felt strong. They're no longer strong. They still want to live on the muscle memory of having strength, but they don't. We are the strong ones. And every day when I get up and I look in the news cycle and I see the crazy nature of leftism, I say to myself, you know what? I'm so happy to be on the side of righteousness, to have a set of core values that allow me to live my life in such a way that I don't want to walk around saying I'm proud of it, but I'm not unproud of it. I'm happy that my life is going the way it is and that I'm dealing with the things I'm dealing with, because Lord knows, I would not want to be on their side of these issues. They're wrong on everything. And, turn on your TV. The other night it was Golden Globes. Soon it'll be a football championship and there'll still be a kneeler. Or there'll be somebody, lamenting some situation that has nothing to do with you, but you'll be wrapped in it. They'll say, oh, it's those racist conservatives and these Republicans and this, that, and the other. And it's not us. Their problems are exactly what I said when I started this particular segment. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. And you must walk your own path. Buddha said something very similar, and I know he's pretty bright. So there you have it.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Funny story. Oh, my gosh. We got a funny one for you. kjradio.com, 844-551-8255. But I got to tell you, funny story. So global climate change, as you guys, you know my stance on this, man. I mean, come on, y'all. This is a fraud. One of the biggest frauds perpetrated on the human race since the invention of currency. And that's all it took for somebody to go, yeah, we've all got the same money. Then somebody goes, I want more than you. I do more than you. And next thing you know, it's all greed. Before that, we just bartered. That's what we did. You wanted to get the horses shoed, and I needed to get, my shoes made. So we traded out. You were good with leather. I was good with metal. You name it. You were the doctor. I was, that's how it all worked. And so that, to me, that was the purest form of currency. Even though, I don't misunderstand me, the guy that's going to come clean your house isn't worth as much as the doctor, who's going to take care of your sick kid, keep him from getting scarlet fever or whatever. But I'm just telling you, that was when it was pure. But then we made money. And when we made money, then you had lazy leftists who, what? Do you know what they want to do? They want to determine how they can get your money the easiest way possible. And so you look throughout history, all the ways that they've scammed you. If there's a Ponzi scheme, don't misunderstand me. Conservatives can do some wretched things as well, but it's going to be generally a leftist who's doing wretched things. And the global climate change is a ruse that enriches a handful of global elitists who play games and they bet on the stupidity of the public. So they pay a few people to sell their gimmicks, and then they profit at unimaginable amounts of money. I mean, just think about it. Al Gore, I don't know what he was worth before, but when he got into the farce of global climate change, he's making movies. He owns a jet. I don't think he owns a jet, but I know he flies around in a big fat jet. This guy's he sold out, what was it? I forget what it was called. I forget the name of the TV thing he sold, but he sold it to Al Jazeera for $100 million. So he probably had 50 in it, sold it for 100. So this dude's worth a fortune. And he did it on nothing. So I learned that one of their puppets got arrested. These global climate farce guys that I think they call him an expert, but he's like a global climate scientist. But there's a twist. And here's the story. The EPA's highest paid employee and a leading expert on climate change, was sentenced to 32 months in federal prison for lying to his bosses. You're going to love this part. Said he was a CIA spy working in Pakistan so he could avoid doing his real job. Now, the guy's name is John Beals, and they called his crimes inexplicable, unbelievably egregious. Judge Ellen Hovell said when she imposed his sentence in Washington, D.C. federal court. And Beal also agreed to pay $1.3 million in restitution and forfeiture to the government. That's a lot of coin. I don't know where the guy got the money, but you'll find out a little bit more. So here's the rest of the story. Beal said he was ashamed of his lies about working for the CIA, a ruse that, according to court records, began in 2000 and continued until early this year. Now, we're talking about, this was a 2017 story. So from 2000 to 2017, this guy who worked for the EPA said to his bosses, I'm with the CIA. Now, here's what he goes on to say. Why did I do this? Greed. Simple greed. And I'm ashamed of that greed, Bill told the court. He also said it was possible that he got a rush and a sense of excitement by telling people he worked for the CIA. And this is a quote. It was something like an addiction. Shocking to me, folks, that this bureaucrat called his job and the subterfuge of that job a rush. How many other do-nothing bureaucrats do you think get that same rush? I told you guys a story of a warehouse so big with the government that they couldn't get it. It's so big they hid. There were people that hid like a little area where they set up flat screen TVs and stereos. Think about how big something has to be for you to be able to play a stereo and nobody know you're there. This thing, they said, was like a luxury apartment. And they had just commandeered TV, stereos, computers, sofa, bed, you name it. It was an area that they just set up, and a handful of people knew about it, and that was that. This is going on in our government. And believe me when I tell you, there's nothing you could tell me about graft in government that I would be like, oh, really? Yeah, that's shocking. Everything to me is going to be like, well, yeah, okay. Anyway, the article continues. Beal pled guilty in September to bilking the government out of nearly $1 million in salary and other benefits over a decade. He perpetrated his fraud largely by get this. This is the part that got me. Failing to show up at the EPA for months at a time, including one 18-month stretch starting in June of 2011 when he did, quote, absolutely no work, as his lawyer acknowledged in a sentencing memo filed last week. When Hovell asked Beal what he was doing when he claimed he was working for the CIA, he said, I spent time exercising, spent a lot of time working on my house. Now, I want you to think about how easy things must have been in the Obama administration once you declared that global climate change was legit. How easy were things at that point? Unbelievable. What private sector job, let's just ask the question this way. What private sector job could you not show up to for 18 months, claim to be a CIA operative, and get paid? See, Obama laced the EPA with people willing to promote this false data of global climate change and milking the taxpayers, and that was it. That was it. This is just, I find this one of the most amazing stories. How do you not fire somebody in government when they've got a job and you say, look, Bill, or whatever his name was, you haven't been here in 18 months. It's like the dude that had the 100-pound testicle. At a pound, you think he's going to see the doctor, or somebody else is telling him to go see the doctor because you can see it through his pants. Okay? But they didn't. They didn't do it. Are you serious? I find this amazing This is the inefficiency of our government that's going to let somebody run a ruse like this for 17 years, since 2000. God, what's this guy getting paid every year too, by the way? You know, he's got to be making, 150 to 175 grand a year. He's the highest paid guy at the EPA. Maybe he didn't start that way, but he was at the end. There's so many things I want to know about this story. Seriously. I mean, I'm sure there's some curiosity here. What do you do? Anyway, short break. We'll be back.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Hey everybody, Kevin Jackson. You want to know how you know you're winning? Welcome back. It's the Kevin Jackson Show, kjradio.com. You know you're winning because the left has decided they want no more potential. No more potential for the repeat of crooked Hillary's campaign. None. They now recognize that Hillary stole the nomination from Bernie Sanders, and though Sanders had no shot against Donald Trump, what he did deserve was fairness. Yeah, he needed to be treated fairly. The Democrats stacked the deck against the old socialists in the most imaginative of ways. In one way, though less imaginative, was through these superdelegates. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? And so the party now wants to make sure that the cheating of the Hillary campaign as it pertains to superdelegates cannot happen again. So Politico wrote about it. They said the Democrat Party's Unity Reform Commission is recommending cutting the number of superdelegates by about 400 to a 60% deduction. Many of the remaining superdelegates would see their votes tied to the results in their state. The commission is also suggesting that absentee voting be required as an option for presidential caucus participants. It is calling for automatic voter registration and same-day voter registration, and it wants to mandate public reporting of raw vote totals from caucus states. This is going to go in their Rules and Bylaws Committee and then likely to a full 447-member Democrat National Committee vote for consideration this year, in fact. So they say it's not going to be about 447 people. It's going to be about millions of people and how they pick up this challenge and the path, said Larry Cohen. Okay, fine. But what essentially they're saying is we watched Donna Brazile. We watched, from her book, what came out from that. We've looked at what Debbie Wasserman Schultz did. We now know how the Hillary campaign, had intervened on things. And now we got to do something dramatically different. We got to give people a shot. And I would say to you, they're trying to make it fair. But I don't think that's really it. I think what they're trying to do is say, we never want another Hillary Clinton type scenario. And good for them. Anyway, I want to shift gears. So Jake Tapper did an interview. And it was amazing to watch this interview. I don't know did you guys see that interview with Tapper? I talked about it earlier. I couldn't remember the guy's name. His name is Steve Miller. Now, I don't know why I wouldn't remember Steve Miller. Keep on rocking me, baby. Boom, 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 boom. Keep on rocking me, baby. But anyway, it was Steve Miller. He's a White House advisor. I talked about it because I said that I know I talked about it on the radio show because I remember saying that it was not Steve Bannon. It was Corey Lewandowski who hired him. Okay. So anyway, after he did this interview, very contentious interview, he was escorted off the set of CNN, and they had to have security guards. Yeah. This is what I'm reading. 2 sources close to the situation told Business Insider that after taping was done, Miller was politely asked to leave several times. He ignored those requests, and ultimately security was called and he was escorted out. He's not a tough-looking dude. He's just like a little old, he's just a mousy-looking dude. Now, he could fool you like a buddy of mine named Robert who looks like an accountant, but Robert will give you the blues, man. Bad dude. But anyway, they escort him out. But here's what was funny about this. Miller's handling of Jake Tapper was masterful. Masterful. He did what I've recommended to my radio show listeners for, well, the better part of a week or 2 weeks. I told you guys, refer to President Trump as a genius. That sets off the left in ways, it's like waving a red flag to one of those red things that the matadors do to a bull. It's the equivalent of that. It sets them off. Call Donald Trump a genius, and they don't know what to do. So here's what happened. Jake Tapper, he asked Miller to comment on fake news' work of fiction, Fire and Fury, Inside the Trump White House, this book by Michael Wolff, which, by the way, is being touted as the holy grail right now. I was talking earlier about, what's her name? Kitty. Anyway, the lady that's kind of a gossip columnist that wrote the book about Oprah. Her book is a complete, I mean, it looks like it's total nonfiction in comparison to Wolff. Wolff just goes, well, if it sounded like it was kind of true, I just said it was okay. It was just a complete lie. Yeah. Well, and I read you guys a piece from it the other day where he says, so what if two different people contradicted the story? I still, it wasn't for me to decide. I'll let the reader decide. He didn't want to get to the truth. He goes, well, somebody said they say Trump is stupid. Other people say he's genius. Well, you be the judge. Psst. I mean, it wasn't on things like that. It was on things that, that you could actually factually, figure out. But anyway, that kind of stuff I wouldn't even put in a book anyway. Even with 2 anyways. So, while he's on talking with Jake Tapper, and he's baiting him with this he says he called Trump a political genius. Tapper snidely commented, there's only one viewer you care about right now. He was referencing what's his name? Steve Miller, rocking you, baby. Anyway, what Miller was saying. And so, and it was if you watch the interview, Tapper he's really getting under Tapper's skin because Miller would say things like, well, as you guys would know because you report fake news, this is the way things work because you're a fake news reporter kind of an organization. And had you gotten the story right, you remember how you guys really screwed up this particular story. And it was just interesting how he did it. And he kept baiting this guy and he doesn't know what to do. Tapper's just like, and he wants to keep coming back to the book and to the narrative. And all he says is that book is, and he's almost robotic. That book is absolute nonsense. It's not worth the paper to use it to wipe your butt. I mean, I wish we had a clip. I didn't get it was like 8 minutes, right? Still, we could have gotten it down to like 30 seconds or a minute of it. But it was really good because he just kept needling him. And then Tapper kept coming back to the book, and then he would needle more and say, oh, really, you people want to make a big deal out of a book that's little more than, for all intents and purposes, that book is fiction. And it's driving Jake Tapper crazy. So, later in the broadcast, at the very end, I didn't even see this in the first clip that I saw, but it said Jake Tapper cuts him off. He says, I think I've wasted enough of my viewers' time. Thank you, Stephen. And then he brings it to an end. And Stephen's still trying to talk, but he just cuts him off. And of course, as I said earlier, Miller apparently didn't want to leave. But that wasn't the end. Because Tapper had gotten his butt kicked. Yeah, it was horrible. And let me tell you why I can talk to you about this stuff firsthand. I have been in the green room after a person gets their butt kicked in an interview by me, and they are livid. They are fuming. Okay? They're fuming. They don't want to talk to you, just, like, and because I'm not a pacifist, they know, I'm not worried about you being mad after an interview. But so anyway, they're so mad. And here's what they're doing. You can almost see them mumbling to themselves like, I should have said this. I could have said that. And interview's over. You can't say anything. You've been beaten, and that's the end of it. So I've been there. Now, I'll tell you from another story. One of my buddies, his name is Chris. I got him on CNN. Very first interview he did. And I watched it. And Chris did everything wrong. He'd move his head when, like, oh, that's nonsense. And he'd look up. Y'all can't see me, but he would move his head and he'd look up and he'd do things. And so when he got back, he immediately texted me, man, you got to get me back on. I'm so mad. And they frustrated him because he wasn't talking right. Like they'd get him over talking and stuff like that. It wasn't a horrible interview, but it wasn't a good one. And he knew it. And he was like, man, just you got to get me back in there. That's what you want. When that happens, you want to get back in the game. You're like, oh. Even when I've had a mediocre interview, I want to get back right away because I'm like, oh, I could have really torched that guy. I've never lost, in an argument like that. But there are times when you go, I could have done a lot better. So that's what I wanted. But anyway, anonymous sources at CNN said that Jake Tapper screamed obscenities at the camera crew, threw a coffee cup at the wall, and demanded CNN never make him interview Stephen Miller again. Yeah. Now, I'm going to give you a disclaimer right now and tell you it's an anonymous source of CNN. I saw it in a tweet, but I believe it because I know how these anchors are. I went on a show with not Poppy, on a CNN, and the lady was so mad because I said, this is a silly topic. And she was like, I don't think it's silly.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
People who have been passionately avoiding reality for 3 years are now entering a new year passionately avoiding reality. There's a whole series of these things where I'm working on a book right now called Trump's America, and there's a whole chapter of how wrong they are. I mean, whether it's somebody saying he couldn't possibly be elected, a number of people who said the stock market is going to crash the minute he's sworn in. I mean, you go back and you pick these people up. I have a standard rule. If I look at the Sunday morning shows and all of the wonderful elite Washington figures have agreed that the sky is going to be blue, my assumption immediately is it's not, because they're wrong so often.
What's up, America? Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. Fear not. That's the rule of the show today is to fear not. Gingrich just described how D.C. is looked at. It's lies. You now have learned how to look at the media and all the different people that come out like Michael Wolff. Oh my gosh, Donald Trump, he's an idiot. I never said that. That's what the people said that I interviewed. He finds himself on the hot seat. And it's funny, watching the left invest so much into this guy, Michael Wolff, who wrote the book Fire and Fury, the work of fiction about Donald Trump. I'm telling you, I wish I could put you inside of my head. The minute I saw this guy talk, I went, he's a liar. He's making himself look bigger than what he is. And a lot of his information, guess what? We find out comes from Steve Bannon. Now, he doesn't admit it, but because he's asked outright, is this where this information came from? Steve Bannon, and as we've learned, is one of these guys. He was brought into the Trump campaign, didn't fit, couldn't get his stride, because I don't think Bannon's that talented personally, but he couldn't get his stride. And so when he leaves, he decides, okay, I'll do this interview. This will make it look like I'm bigger than I really am. You've met people like this. They can't, it isn't good enough for them just to say, yeah, I'm just an ordinary guy. They got to say, no. I was a cross-country skier, and I did it. They got to beef up the resume. You don't have to beef up the resume, man. People will accept you. But people like Bannon, they get up there and they're like, okay, I gotta grab that brass ring. Every one of the politicians on the left, I swear to you, if you look at their resume, you look at what they believe they've done, and then you go actually look at what they've accomplished, it will be such a dramatic difference. You'll wonder, how could you possibly write this about yourself? It is a lie. And you know what? Guess who's exposed is the very liar who claims he's got all this information on Trump. MSNBC, CNN, all these guys are running around doing interviews with this guy, selling this stupid book. The billionaire that's targeting Trump, he sent this book to everybody in Congress, probably I bet you this guy bought 500,000 copies or something so he could distribute it out, because he's after Trump. And what do we find out? He's a liar. He's a bald-faced liar. And now the leftist media is starting to challenge him. Yeah. So there was an interview he did with a chick, I forget her name. She was on MSNBC, and she said something like, well, I saw a ring of truth in the book. There wasn't he's like, if you talk to people and it appears to be true and it has a ring of truth, well, then it could be true. That may be true about Schweitzer's book on Hillary Clinton, as he connected the dots on all the ways that the Clinton Foundation was doing their crooked stuff, but he based it on facts. Here are the facts. It wasn't conjecture of somebody going, well, I had a conversation with this guy, but that was refuted by this other person. He said, nope, here's what the Clinton Foundation did. Here's what Hillary did. Here's what Bill got. Here's how the Russians did it, etc. Then you can discern, is it real or is it not? His book is in no way close to this. And guess what? The lamestream media is finally going, wait a minute. This isn't passing the smell test. I swear, you have got to see this interview he did with Norah O'Donnell. I think she's on ABC or CBS. He's on a panel, and there are three people there, and Norah O'Donnell is asking him questions. I'm going to play you the clip here in a second. Get that clip ready for me. But here's what I really want you to understand. You have to see his body language when she starts asking these questions. So you can't see it, obviously, on radio, so I'm going to describe it for you. He's obviously caught in the headlights. You'll hear that in the way that he answers the questions. But when she asks him the final question, his eyes start to shift, and he's looking up and around because he doesn't have an answer. And he knows he's been caught. And what's interesting is Nora's pressing without just blatantly saying this is a work of fiction. But she comes as close to it in the lamestream media that you could possibly come. And I'm going to give her credit. She was not holding back on this guy, kind of drilling down. Had that interview gone another minute and a half, this dude is toast. So you're going to watch this dude go up in flames, but you're not going to see any mea culpa by CNN or MSNBC or any other people. Now, again, to Nora's defense and her station, I haven't seen them interview him and coddle him the way he had been coddled on CNN. Jake Tapper, in his very bad interview he did with Stephen Miller, he actually used this thing as a Bible, and it finally got some people to go. I mean, when you watch the video, you're going, you act as if this is all, validated, verified information, and it isn't. But he treats it that way. Norah O'Donnell doesn't do that. So let's play that clip.
Did you speak to members of the president's cabinet for this book?
I did not.
You did not?
I did not.
And did you speak with the vice president?
I did not.
When was the last time you spoke with the president for this book?
As I've said all along here, and the White House seems very focused on this, and I've spent about 3 hours talking to the president over the course of the campaign, the transition, and in the White House. But the The important point I want to make is that this book is not about my impression of the president. I came into this with no agenda. I continue to have no political agenda.
Fair enough. But it reads like a running narrative. Like, as you say, you were a semi-permanent spot. You were a fly on the wall in the White House. But
Exactly.
it does also read like your main source is Steve Bannon. Would it be correct to sort of say that?
It would be not correct. He's a very large source here, but there are many. You have written it's worse than you thought. It's worse than anybody thought, that he's mentally unstable, that he's an idiot. Okay, I didn't say this isn't. I did not say he's mentally unstable. I would not be qualified to do this. I'd say I have merely described, and mostly not my impressions, the impressions of other people, of the people he deals.
But the president denies he ever spoke with you for this book at all.
Well, I think he probably had no idea he was speaking to me for this book. When I would meet the president in the White House, we would chat as though we were friends, and that was
but that's not an interview to greet someone and say hello. I mean, that's not a journalistic exercise.
Yeah, you said 3 hours. You'd spend 3 hours with him.
Well, through the course, first I have sat down with the president for an extended periods of interviews, but there's other periods in which, and that's essentially what he's saying. They're trying to parse this and saying, oh, I didn't know that I was speaking to him when I saw him in the White House. As an
Just
interview.
to clarify, the White House says the last time they have a record of you meeting with President Trump was February 2017. That's just barely 100 days into his presidency. Did you interview him after that date?
Let's separate this out.
Welcome back. Ooh. I love that interview. Norah O'Donnell, you can tell she's playing investigative reporter. When was the last time you spoke with the president? That was the setup question. And he didn't answer because she had the information. She says the last time you were in the White House, according to the White House, was March of 2017. So she had the answer. She was waiting for him to give something, which he didn't. Well, I've spent 3 hours talking to the president, during the campaign, the transition in the White House. Now, if you're a fly on the wall in a campaign, which is what he says, and he claims he has no agenda, but if you're a fly on the wall, it means you have access. And it would mean you have hours of documentation because they've given you access. If you watched House of Cards, and I'm not trying to make it sound that way, but when that writer was doing a story on the family, the name of the family, he was there. He was around them 24/7. It isn't like 3 hours during the campaign, the transition, and his presidency of a year. That's how much you base your book on. It's 3 hours. And part of it is, oh yeah, he would meet me and say, his Norah O'Donnell says, you meet people, they say hello. Is that part of the time? Is it, hey, how you doing, Mr. President? You stand around for 5 minutes as he talks to other people and you go, check mark. That's like the way attorneys bill, right? Then she says his main source was Steve Bannon. No, not really, but yeah, he was a lot. And then everywhere he talked about mental instability, they showed pictures, and he had claimed that Mnuchin and all the generals were saying that Trump was unstable. Wolf is busted.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Strength is what we're talking about on the Kevin Jackson Show. kjradio.com is how you can get a hold of us. 844-551-8255. You gain strength, you gain courage, you gain confidence by every experience where you stop and look what you fear in the face. You remember growing up, all the things you were afraid of? I don't know, whether it's bugs or snakes or whatever. Some of those fears you got over. Most of them you got over. Some of them you still avoid. A lot of people, I don't touch no spiders, man. Leave me alone. I get it. But the things that that you must confront, you've probably gotten a hold of. If you have made yourself into an adjusted adult, you have to face your fears. I was talking to one of my nephews, and we were talking about the movie 300 came on, and we were talking, and I was saying, yeah, I love these warriors. You know, I said, and what was happening was the guys were just beating this one guy down, but every time they'd show his face, he'd get up and he'd just go and attack the other, the warriors, and then they'd, beat him again. So there were 3 against 1, and the younger guy was getting effectively initiated into the Spartans, and he was bloody mouth, and then he'd get up and then, it wasn't crying. He'd get up and go, okay, and then he'd go to another one, and they'd beat him up. And so my nephew's like, well, what do you think they're doing? I'm like, I can tell you what they're doing. They're making sure that he understands in order to become a warrior, you have to continue to get up. It doesn't matter what the odds are. There's 3 Spartans here. You think you can't beat one of us. But every time he got up and he fought, and it reminded me of Cool Hand Luke. You remember the fight scene with George Kennedy? And I forget the main character. You know who I'm talking about. Well, you guys don't. You're too doggone young. Paul Newman. Oh, yeah, you were going to guess it, right? Yeah, Paul Newman. He's fighting, and George Kennedy just pummeling the guy. And he keeps getting up. Luke keeps getting up. And finally, Kennedy's like, just stay down. Stay down, Luke. And Luke gets up again, and Kennedy, and finally, you know what happens? Kennedy walks away. Now, you may look at Luke beat up on the ground, whatever, and Kennedy walks away because technically Luke won because he kept getting up, and he got up again when Kennedy walked away. His character walked away. That's how you win. You don't give up. It's about perseverance. You can take the next thing that goes along. You can live through the horror. Let's face it, people. We did. We lived through the horror of 8 years of the worst presidency in modern history, and that includes Jimmy Carter. I remember going with my grandparents, waiting in line for gasoline, going, you got to be kidding. And driving across town because my grandmother would go, it's a penny cheaper over at such and such. And we would drive, 5 additional 10 miles or whatever to go save 10 cents in gasoline. I mean, it was bad times. So I understand it, but we got through it. And you face these things, and you're facing them every single day. Bad bosses and all. This is why I talk when these leftists talk about bully campaigns. I chuckle I'm like, shut up. Don't be talking to me about a bully campaign. Bullies teach you lessons. I'm not telling you want to be bullied. You don't want your kids bullied. But what happens is think about it this way. Let one of your kids come home and say, yeah, this guy, he bullied me at school. The first thing you do is you spring into action as a parent. You're like, really? What did he do? What did she say? What? And you're trying to help them through it. Because let me tell you, there's an important life lesson there. This is a chance for you to give your child armor and say, okay, here's how you're going to handle this. I can tell you many times people say, oh, it's a bully this. And I go, you know what you do to a bully? They go, what? You let him think you're going to get bullied. He's standing there. He thinks nothing's going to happen. And you haul off and just pop him right in the face. Don't think about it. You palm heel him right into the chin with all your might. He's not going to think it's coming. Don't you even give it 2 seconds of thought. The minute he opens his mouth, he's going to turn away or whatever. You just, you palm heel him and you put your force of your body behind him. He's going down. And whatever happens next, don't worry about it. Because let me tell you, he'll never bully you again. He'll go, wow, I don't know what this guy's going to do. I can tell you right now, you cannot bully me. It won't happen. People, Kevin, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to beat you. Really? Okay. I wish I had that button I could push so you could see it isn't going to happen. And it's the strength that comes from having been in number one, I'm a trained fighter. That doesn't hurt. But it's the strength that comes from saying, bring it. And watching the reaction. And then when you did bring it and I was able to respond because I'm trained, I went, this is not as hard as I thought it was. Trust me when I tell you, it's easy. I got people out there listening to my show. They're buddies of mine. John Graven, one of the best martial artists on the planet. Dan, who's over in China training with monks and training people in Hapkido in China, one of the best martial artists on the planet. Martial Arts Hall of Fame guys I'm talking about. Now, look, I'm not trying to make this into a fight. I'm just telling you, you gain your strength by saying, I'm not going to be your chump. I'm not going to be your patsy. And that's what do you think is happening right now to the conservative movement? What do you think Donald Trump has brought to the conservative movement? A guy who is fearless and saying, I'll say what I want to say. Let the media do what they want to do. You know what? I'm training. I got weapons of my own. And he uses Twitter. And he says, I'm a genius. And the media goes, he's dumb. I'm a genius. Now take that. Run away and explain it. Try to convince people that I'm not a genius when you looked at what I did from your, worthless piece of crap president and what I've been able to do in a year. You compare my year to his and tell me who's the mental midget. That's strength. And that strength is what you're feeling. It's a sensation around you. It's palpable. When you get around people that support Trump, they don't just go, yeah, he's my think about George, how you thought about George Bush. You were like, yeah, he's president. He's not Clinton. He's not Al Gore. That's all you could say. With Donald Trump, the people that support him go, that's a dude I can stand behind. That's a guy I can fight with. That's a guy who isn't going to abandon me. You think our allies feel the same thing? Of course they do. Why do you think these moves are being made? You think countries are not looking at our economy and the approach that Donald Trump is taking? You better believe they are. You did this. You warriors, your strength, your self-confidence. That's what did it. Short break, folks. We'll be back. Kevin Jackson.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. kjradio.com. I got to tell you, things are looking really bad for Steve Bannon. Wow. This is a guy who was, he had left the Trump administration. He was really on a high. And he ruined it. I mean, look, I don't. Donald Jr. said he squandered it, and he's exactly right. But I can't tell you I don't even know how you could get into the head of a guy like Steve Bannon to say, I'm gonna backstab Trump for my own personal benefit. Look, the way you gain favor with people when you work for them is you say, look, I get it. We everything that we do in this company isn't run on, we don't run everything at 100% efficiency. We do the best we can. And you come in to help an organization, whether it's a company or organization, whatever. You come in to help, and you're going to see the dirty laundry. I don't mean, cheating and stuff like that. I'm talking about we're not efficient. Look, I was a management consultant to the largest companies in the world. I promise you, if I told you all the crap that went on in some of these companies, that you'd go, why would I invest in them? But that's what they bring people like me in, is to come in, look at the situation, because you come in with fresh vision, and you then say, let's fix this, that, and the other. And you make it a little bit better. Somebody else with a different set of experiences can do the same thing. That's why many times they work with multiple consultants, multiple management consultants. So that's okay. But when you leave, and honestly, I think in our paperwork there were NDAs, but without an NDA, I'm not going to go somewhere and say, oh, this is the problem. When I would go into a company, and it's funny, I'll just give you a little management consulting. So let's say I've got two large companies that are in similar businesses, and I've worked with one and changed them around, made them profitable. Well, guess what? The competitor goes, well, they were using, Kevin Jackson. So they call you in. And the first thing they do is, so Kevin, tell us what you did over at company A. And you say to them, why would I do that? Well, I mean, we just know you did a great job over there, and that's why we want you over here. Well, then fine. You understand it. I did a great job over there. And that's all you need to know. I went in, I identified their problem areas, and I'll do the same for you. But if you think for 1 second, I'm going to tell you, oh, well, they had inefficiencies in their supply chain, and they really didn't understand their customers, and blah, blah, blah. And of course, they had far too much, product in their work in process that they didn't need, and they could have done it a better strategy around just-in-time delivery or whatever. No, I'm not going in any detail. I will tell you nothing about them. And that's how you win business. Because it wasn't a test of how good are you. They know how good I was. I turned them around. I saved them $1.7 billion annually or whatever. What they want to know is, can you keep your mouth shut? That's what they want to know. Look, tell me your secrets. I'm not telling anybody. When I would do proposals, I'd say, so I had a situation with a company that had this type of scenario with their inventory returns, or they, reverse logistics, whatever. But I would never give you a name. I'm talking about just in general. And I wouldn't give you enough detail to where you could figure out who it is. It was strictly, here's a problem we faced that's similar to yours, and how we were, how I'm going to fix it. And I was able to bring this much to the bottom line, recurring revenue, not just a one-time fix, recurring revenue. So you can put this on the bottom of you can put this at the bottom line every quarter, right? That's the way you talk. But you're not getting a secret out of me. You could give me sodium pentothal. You could waterboard me or whatever you want. I'm not telling you anything about my client. And that's how you gain loyalty. And that's why people like Donald Trump put you in their inner circle. And that's why I don't know anything about Bannon in that respect, but I don't understand why this guy would squander that. And even when you're out of the inner circle, let's say you didn't fit. Donald Trump, his loyalty is, look, you weren't very good, but we're going to leave it amicably, and you go along your way. I've given you the opportunity to make yourself good. Think about this when The Apprentice. People went on that show and they'd get kicked off. But even after you were off the show, because you were on it, you could go write a ticket here. You could say, hey, I wrote a book about my deal on The Apprentice. And as long as you didn't air any dirty laundry about Trump, and I'm not saying dirt, I'm saying just, it wasn't, he was whatever. If you didn't get all petty, he didn't go forth and multiply. But if you attack him, he's going to attack you. End of story. Because the rule is you have the ability to go earn now. Anybody associated with the Donald Trump campaign is instantaneously on the speaking circuit, making a lot of money, and things are going well. Instantaneously. Run with it. Steve Bannon left. People thought the man was a guru. Trump wasn't gonna deny it. He would just like, if Steve Bannon had written a book saying, I was part of the team, Trump's a genius, I felt like I contributed, blah, blah, blah. He could write a book, get a $10 million advance, good as gold. In fact, Donald Trump would bring him in and, it would be mutual admiration society, even though Donald Trump would have said, you're not good for my team. He'd still hold you close. He'd allow you access. Steve Bannon has cut the umbilical cord. He will never be back in the good graces of Donald Trump. It's one thing, folks. It's loyalty. It's the reason why, as much as and I'm going to describe myself as a jerk. I don't honestly believe I am, but I'll go with what some people may perceive. Look, here's my thing. You will take me or leave me. I'm not changing my personality for you. If I make you feel weak, so be it. I'm not going to go, oh, geez, this person feels weak when I'm around them, so I need to change. I'm not changing anything. I'm there to grow you as a person. I mean, if you want to do that, the same way I'll look at your qualities and go, wow, that's a great quality in that person. I want to adopt that. But I'm not going to feel weakened by it. I'm not going to, wow, that person's really good, marketer. He really knows that. Oh, geez, I'm going to stay away from him. He's just such a jerk because, no. I'm going to take that and go, wow, that's a good quality. I'll look at that as a quality. But I'm not going to, and I'm not changing the way I am unless it's changing myself for the better. And it will be because I want to do it. That's the way I see it. So that when I look at the way, what people want, what I want from my team, for example, I want loyalty. It doesn't mean you're not going to go on your merry way. And it doesn't, but I'll freely admit, we've made so many mistakes in running this organization. It's crazy. I say it up front. That's why you bring people in, to help it, to improve it. For the record, if you want to be part of this team, we would love to have you, because we make mistakes and we have fun making mistakes together, because you know what we managed to do in the last 9 years? We've managed to actually make a difference, to grow it in spite of those mistakes. And that's what Trump is saying. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not worried about that. I want loyal people who are going to help me grow this, because I know what we can accomplish. And Bannon abandoned that. I don't get that. He's smarter than that. At least I thought he was. Now he's out there begging for buttermilk. Look, this is not going to end well for him. I'm telling you. And the dude has suddenly become toxic, and I feel sorry for him. Back in a bit.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
So you're a tycoon. Who else is a tycoon? Is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He's also from Queens.
That's
you're
different.
From Queens.
I just felt funny when you said that.
But you're two tycoons, two guys made good from Queens. Have you met the man? Is he anything like their friends back in the old neighborhood?
I didn't know so much. So much new things have came out about Donald since he's been the president of America.
Yeah, we've learned a lot.
Yeah, I think this was like, to be honest, I think it was like an accident. Like when something happens by accident, you're not prepared for it. And then it's like, I think he was trying to get a great renegotiation for The Apprentice. And then
so he just wanted to go back to NBC and say,
he wanted to lose the presidency. He don't want the job.
Well, that's what this new book says, yeah.
Yeah, then when you win, you go, what the So now I gotta be the president? Yeah, man.
That was my reaction too.
That's how I go. Like he does things and I recognize the things why he's doing.
What do you mean? Recognize what?
Recently he was saying something like, I got a bigger
button.
Yeah. Nuclear button.
Yeah.
Like that's like stuff you do in the neighborhood. Like if you know somebody got a problem with you, you'd be like, if you want a problem, no problem. And he's doing, that's like he's bluffing, like you bluff. That's how you bluff. But you don't bluff with the entire world. What the You're not doing.
That's true. See, that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because he don't want that smoke. We don't want that smoke. Like, none of us. We don't want that to take place. But he's like, yo, I got a bigger nuclear button than you.
That was Stephen Colbert interviewing political prognosticator 50 Cent. Yeah. And 50 Cent chimes in on, you can't go threatening the world. Oh, you mean like Iran? Oh, you mean like North Korea? Yeah, you can't go threatening the world. That's not the proper response. Everybody, Trump's deranged. He wants to push the nuclear button. We're back to that again. I don't know how you guys feel, but I love that Donald Trump said, I got a bigger button, North Korea. In case the world wasn't aware, we're the superpower. He can threaten all he wants. If I push my button, he's gone. Oh, you can't go do it. That's a terrible diplomacy. No, it isn't. Don't let anybody fool you. See, there's an education happening here. They want you to believe that's crazy talk. That's not crazy talk. That's truth. What Donald Trump said, I would dare anybody on the left to tell me whether or not it's true or not. Because you're saying the man is deranged for saying the truth. Now, you could say, as 50 Cent implied, you don't go threatening the world. He didn't threaten the world. He responded to a threat. So if somebody threatens you, you should just go, whatever. Maybe there's some cases like that. But let me tell you, the world is watching. What's funny to me is how backwards these people are. And this is the same level of thinking, quite frankly, that has ruined politics. Oh, the diplomacy would be to do what? The diplomacy would be to say, hey, chump, you want to mess with us? I promise you, I'm going to rain a crap load on you that you will never forget. Don't you dare try to threaten my citizens. I told you guys what I would do. I told you don't elect me president of the United States, because if you think that was hot, I will be all over the world talking about, hey, hot zone. I would like Trump taking away money from these clowns that don't support us. Are you kidding? Kevin Jackson, president? Let me just say, President Jackson, I would issue executive orders ceasing all funds immediately to any country that did not toe the line with whatever our foreign policy was instantaneously. And then I'd fight it in court. I'd cease it immediately. You can't fund that. And then I take it to the American people. Do you want to fund terrorism? Let me tell you what this country did against us. Let me tell you what this country did against us. And I'd get a popular opinion. I would threaten any country. China, Russia, any of it. If you cyber sleuth do anything against us, I'm going to start. Here's going to be DEFCON 1, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when you get to 1, you're cut off. We will not do business with you. We won't do business with people who do business with you. You'll be done. And it's the same way I'd handle Medicare, Medicaid. If you're fraudulent, if you're a doctor and you commit fraud, you can never participate in the system. If you're a person who knowingly commits fraud in any of these systems, you are off our system for life. I'm not going to play. You think Trump's this is not radical. This is normal. Let me ask you, what would you do if you had an accountant and he embezzled? Would you let him continue to be an accountant? No, you strip their license. If you have a doctor who's a complete incompetent, who over-medicates or does something, would you allow, or kills his patients, for fun, would you let him continue with his medical license? No. But we let people that threaten us, we let Congress people who, cut crazy deals that have no benefit to the American public, we do nothing to them. We don't take their licenses away. We don't do anything to these people. We are not hard enough. There are people out there going, hey, preach, but I'm a little afraid. It's okay. You'll get over it. You'll get over it. Yeah. The fact that Donald Trump says, I will protect my citizens. I told you guys, a woman would be able to run butt naked through Riyadh in the Middle East if she had an American passport in her hand and nobody would even look at her. That's how safe you could feel as an American citizen if it was a President Jackson running things. Because I ain't going to play with your safety. Muslims coming over here killing us. MS-13 gang members. I would have MS-13. Man, they would be too scared to operate in America. I'll put it that way. I'd have hit squads against MS-13. And I'd tell them, I'd say, we just formed a special task force. And they do nothing except hunt down MS-13 El Salvadoran gang members and any other gangs associated with them. You want to be in a gang? You're being hunted. Because we're going to make America's streets safe. That's what I do. Yeah, y'all think what you want. And let me tell you something. People, I don't know what you're thinking out there. Are you thinking Kevin's crazy? Fine. Think I'm crazy. Look, I can tell you this. This is sanity. What I just described, every single thing that I described is nothing but sanity. And the only reason why, if you have any squeamish ideas around what I just said, is because you've been indoctrinated. You've been made to believe that, we've got to be more judicious, and Kevin, we've got to really be able to understand the other side. Yeah, so I know terrorists, all they need is an opportunity and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? They have opportunities. We've given money to Pakistan, billions of dollars for decades. And you know what they've done? They haven't built infrastructure and put people to work and gotten these kids' minds off of being suicide bombers. They've used that money to create more terrorists. And it's not going to happen. You come to, and I'll tell you, there's some laws in this country that are far too lax. Yeah. And there are people out there shaking their heads with me in agreement, because you're going, yeah, it's about time somebody says something like this. And you've been saying it for a long time. And you're waiting for somebody to take that on and do it. And the closest you're going to get to my ideology is Donald Trump. It's the closest you're going to get. See, I'd even take a harder stance against young black thugs and people like that. He's going to soft shoe it. He's going to soft shoe that a little bit. He's going to think about the ramifications of it to the party, because he has to. He's a white dude. As a black dude, I say, let me explain something to you silly Negroes out there. You kill a cop, you're going to get executed. And if I can do it as an executive order, I'm going to execute you right away. I'm not even going to wait. Say bye to your families. When we pick you up, that's the last time they're going to see you. I know it's radical. I'm a radical. That's why I told you I don't ever vote for me for president unless you want change up in here. Because I'm going to give you some change you can seriously believe in. I'm going to clean up these streets. That's right. And I'm going to deal with all these other things that the left tries to convince you are good for, you name it. I'm going to clean it all. But the closest you're getting to it is Donald Trump. He's I'm not going to say a saner version, because my version is not insane, but he's a more palatable version of what I would bring. Just being honest. I'm keeping it real. People say, Kevin, why don't you run for office? I just gave you my platform. And I know a lot of you are going, but I'll vote for you for that, Kevin. Yeah, but the world isn't ready for me just yet. But they are ready to start embracing some of these ideas. And the way that they embrace that is when you strengthen. It isn't about how strong Donald Trump is. Trump is who he is. Trump is there. He's going to lead whether you come along or not. The only thing that's going to just sway public opinion one way or the other in this whole crazy world is how many people follow. And that's why the left tell you the polling numbers are down. Trump can't get any followers. Trump has plenty of followers.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177, or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Let me ask you about the climate here in Washington, this new book about the White House, a lot of debate about it. As a politician, the president has responded by talking about his mental stability. Why do you suppose he did that when instead he could say, forget this book, we've passed tax cuts, we're defeating ISIS, we've nominated a bunch of judges. Why do you think he did that?
You know, I don't know. I guess my first response was this was sort of a gossipy book, kind of like a Kitty Kelly book back from, when I was in high school. I remember her books would come out. Nobody really believed them. They were treated as, sort of like a sitcom or treated as a television show. They weren't really treated seriously by the media. I do think from my experience, when I look at the president, I've been around the president quite a bit. I've been in the White House quite a bit with him. I can give you one example that I think really shows his great insight and ability to cut through to the chase and do things that ordinary politicians don't do. And that's when I took in the idea of letting individuals join together to buy insurance across state lines. Every politician, Republican and bureaucrat in Washington said we couldn't do it, and they hadn't done it in 30 years. He looked at the original law. He told his lawyers, look at the original law and see if the interpretation of these previous government attorneys have been correct. And he had the wherewithal just to say, no, we're going to let individuals join these groups so they can get cheaper insurance and perhaps better insurance as well, and perhaps get insurance for people who don't have insurance. But he did that because he's different than any other politician. And now we have all these, wiseacres out there wanting to criticize and be presumptuous about trying to judge someone's intelligence. I can tell you he's got the wherewithal to do things that no politician's been able to do, and in a good way.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. That was Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul. And to Rand Paul's credit, I spent a little time with him back when he was actually considered one of the front runners of, when they were going to be declaring who was going to be in there. Rand Paul was a serious contender. And he had swung through my little village and sat down with him. And I got to tell you, the same way he described Donald Trump as being open to these ideas, I said identically the same thing about Rand Paul. People ask me, what's he like? I said, so I'll give you an example. I said, we were talking about going to, he would come to town over this Ferguson thing. We were talking about business building aspects and specifically tailored to the minority community. He was going to meet with the NAACP, which a lot of people criticized. And I said, you don't criticize that. He's having a meeting. But he explained how he was going to talk to him in about 3 to 5 minutes. And when he finished, everybody kind of wanted to jump in. And they were like, it's a good idea, this, that, and the other. And I said to him, Senator Paul, with all due respect, if you go over there with that message, number one, you're going to hurt yourself with conservatives. And number two, you're going to give the wrong message to the NAACP. And I said, and let me explain why. And I talked to him about it, and we went through it from from a perspective of what's going to be the view of it. How's the NAACP going to milk this? But then let's really look at it from a practical policy point of view. And I covered both of that in about two and a half minutes. And you could see him looking at me, and he wasn't offended at all. He was like, huh. And so I said, big mistake, because they're looking for somebody on the right to become the poster child that they will hang over the head and go, look at what Rand Paul said. And I said, but let me explain to you how these policies that you're proposing are going to be manipulated and how they're ultimately going to hurt blacks. And when I was done, I finished up. Another thing came up, 2 or 3 minutes, more chit chat, whatever. And then about 5 minutes later, Rand Paul references exactly what I said and said, you know what? In response to what Kevin said, I think he's right. I think that I'm going to have to look at this a little different. And he, on the spot, changed his view. He didn't, and it wasn't like I'm going to placate this young black man. He just said, it makes sense. I hadn't thought about it that way. And I think to myself, I remember leaving that meeting saying, this is a guy I could vote for. Because I'm a relative nobody. One of my buddies who's a wealthy man put the meeting together, told Rand, you got to meet this kid. He's pretty bright. And so that's how we ended up in the dialogue. But the fact that this guy was so, just different point of view. I hadn't thought about it. I thought, how cool is that? How cool is that for conservatives? I want you to consider that for a second. There wasn't any argument. It wasn't, oh, Rand Paul, you over there trying to do this, that, and the other with black folks. And no conservatives were beating him up about going over to give our message. Nobody. Everybody, I'm not going to say other people weren't, but in that room, people were like, yeah, I think it's a good idea, blah, blah, blah. And they were framing out things. And when I came up with an idea, something that he hadn't heard, and let me tell you why he hadn't. Because Rand Paul, number one, grew up in a home where he didn't have to think about issues of black and white. And as much as he's a very bright guy, he hadn't considered all the angles to that, and particularly from that perspective. That's how you build a team. And so I'm giving him something that he flatly just didn't know, a perspective he didn't. And instead of feeling insecure and little, he felt strong. Yeah. See, God could go into all the different things I've learned about strength, but here's one of the bigger issues around it. A calm mind brings inner strength and confidence. That's what it does. And the way you're calm, because people ask me all the time, Kevin, how do you go up there and stay this way when you're arguing with these leftists? I go, why am I going to get upset with them? It's like people that they start these dialogues with me. Kevin, you're a piece of crap. And I go, you're a piece of crap times 2. And then they, what they end it with? I'm going to post all this information and say, here's what you told me back. And I said, no problem. Go post it. And then they're like, what? And I said, yeah, because what I'm going to do then is I'm going to turn all this over to my attorney. He's going to sue you and we're going to be done. I'm going to own whatever you have. I don't care. You wrote to me in a private message. I responded back to you. You didn't tell me I'm making a book. I'm going to put this all out there. Now suddenly, after I've kicked your butt, you want to go, oh, yeah, I'm going to show people how you really are. I promise you, it isn't that I have, and just for the record, radio audience, I don't care if you ever read any of my threads when I have these arguments with leftists. In fact, I may publish a book about it myself. But here's the reason why I bring it up. When these people come to me, they expect that I'm just going to roll over and be a little hurt puppy. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. What did I do wrong? Can I be better for you? And I'm like, no, you call me a piece of crap. I call you and your mother a piece of crap. And so then they're like, oh, you're very different than you say. Yeah, I'm not different than I seem. I'm different than you think I should be. But anyway, they do that. And I go, I'm not worried about you doing. Go ahead. Post it in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, wherever you fictitiously want me to believe you can post it, and I'm going to own you. And I'm going to do it just out of spite. Because it isn't because I don't care that I care about the information. What I say in a tweet, I'd say to your face. What I say on the phone, on the radio, behind the computer, I will push a button and say it to your face. And it isn't because I'm trying to be, the toughest guy in the world. It's because I stand on principle. That's it. And that's why I have a calm mind. And I bring that inner strength and that confidence. And you should too. Because you are right. We are right about what we're doing. We are not in this for some ideological bent that says, I just want to defeat their ideology. I don't really care about their ideology if it doesn't impact me. I don't want my ideology to impact them. You want to know what's good about our ideology? Huh, conservatives? When it impacts people, it impacts them positively. Positively. The majority of the people benefit when we do what we do. That's why I'm a conservative. I don't care if you want to have earrings in your ear and body art and all the other stuff. But don't get mad at me when somebody doesn't want to hire you because they say, we're looking for a sales executive to go sell, IT services, and you're great at it, but you've got devil's bumps on the top of your head and you've got your teeth looking like vampire. They're probably not going to hire you. And it isn't discrimination. They're looking at the least common, they're saying, what is the least path of resistance to me getting the order? They don't want somebody looking at you going, what the heck is this? They want you to go in. Hi, my name's Kevin Jackson. I'm with so-and-so. I've heard we've got an issue we want to discuss. I think I've got some great news for you. I'm interested in sitting down and going over this with you because I'm excited about you. Whatever. When people bring you in to problem solve, They want to feel confident. Why do you think management consultants are brought in so they can go, oh, let me tell you, the thing that I've heard many CEOs say in meetings when I was coming up through the ranks, they'd go, and I was watching other people do this, and they'd say, look, stop telling me what I already know. I know what my problems are. I've heard that. I heard it enough times to go, don't do that. They want to know how you're going to fix it. And they don't want, they want to know you've analyzed it and you know how to fix it. And that's the confidence that Donald Trump brings. And that's what bothers the left, is he has that kind of confidence because he knows what he's doing. Got to leave it there.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.